The following is a pre-recorded show. Welcome to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers, certified financial planner professional and founder of Akers Financial Group. Now, helping you win in your retirement, here's Brian Akers.
Hello, I'm Brian Akers, and today I have certified financial planner practitioner Jeff Akers with me. He has been in the industry over 20 years. He knows his stuff, and he's highly qualified because he's my cousin. Right, Jeff?
Well, I'm not sure being your cousin makes me highly qualified, but you've been at this for over 30 years, so that's what makes us highly qualified, all that experience.
Well, experience and successful clients that have been retired, stayed retired, and lived the retirement life. Now, the show today that we put together is this. So you want to retire, but can you? It's a really important question right now. Many people are trying to make the decision, can they retire?
Yes, they are. There's a lot of things going on, and people have a lot of decisions to make. I've got to deal with insurance kinds of issues for like health insurance. What do you do about that in retirement? And just the whole, will we have enough to get by? Will we have enough money to last? So that's where we come in.
And some people have decisions they have to make very quickly. They have to make decisions on their life. And many times you get overwhelmed with this concept of this is a final decision. What's your thoughts on that kind of idea, Jeff?
Those final decisions can be intimidating, to say the least. And so it's a good idea to kind of get your information together, know where you are. We talk about our financial fingerprint. And so we want to know where we are, and then we want to know what it is that we have and what will that provide down the road in retirement. And so when you've got to make some of those decisions that are just kind of final, where you don't have a do-over, you don't necessarily want to go back, then we want to make sure that we know where we're starting, and then we can develop a plan to make that retirement work.
We want you to be winning in retirement. And what happens is that not all of us get to pick our retirement day. Many cases, retirement is like thrust upon you. It's sort of said, oh, you're going to retire next week. Here's your notice. Here's your information. Oh, we're not keeping you any longer. We're closing this office, this plant. You never know when that day is coming. So you got to have your finances in order so that you can win in retirement no matter what happens. Mainly because the only one in charge of your retirement is you.
Right. Something you just said is really important. The time to start is now. It doesn't matter if you're 30 years old and you think, oh, I got a long career in front of me. I hope you do, but we don't know. So we've got to start getting things in order now so that when that day comes, whether you get to pick it or somebody else picks it for you, you're ready for it.
Wow. Okay. So let's say there's people out there and they want to know, am I ready to retire? And they are sort of, let's use the situation where they're told that by the end of this year, you have to decide what to do. And they're given a bunch of information. What kind of information are we usually given when that situation occurs?
Well, if they work somewhere where there's a pension involved, they'll get information about what that pension is. Now, that's less and less in today's world, the pensions. But they'll get information about whether or not there might be a severance package. Maybe there's a buyout, those kinds of things. And so we have to evaluate, all right, do we take this buyout while we have the opportunity, or maybe it's you're going to take the buyout and you don't have a choice. But what's that going to provide for you? And so those are two of the things, pension information and what's that buyout. Those are two things that the employer a lot of times will give to folks that they're telling that it's time to retire.
Yeah, then there's the other piece, which is health insurance that they don't think about, which is if your job ends next month, then your health insurance ends next month. And if you're not 65, you have a lot of choices, right, Jeff?
Right. Even if you are 65, if you have a pension through work, then there might be a retiree health benefit. But if not, there's probably not. And so you've got to go ahead and figure out, all right, what Medicare plan am I going to take? And there could be a whole show over that. If you're less than 65, then you've got to figure out what health insurance am I going to get? Is my spouse still working? If they're still working and they have health insurance, maybe you can sign up under them. Otherwise, you might have to take individual health insurance. You might go through we call it Obamacare, like the Maryland Health Connection in Maryland, to sign up for insurance to bridge that gap, because we've got to get to age 65 for Medicare to kick in.
Right. So healthcare is part of this rush to retirement decision. You do need to get that information if you get this situation that might occur in your life. The other thing you got to do is just look at your own personal finances. Now, at Akers Financial Group, we have a website, akersfinancialgroup.com. If you go to that website, you'll see there's an information tab called Documents. Under there is a place to be able to get information together so that we can have a rush to retirement review. Basically, the RRR, Rush to Retirement Review, where you call us and say, I got to look at retirement within the next month or two. I need numbers. I need to figure out what to do. And then we'll look at ways to get you in here with one of our team of advisors to talk about your financial fingerprint. Your financial fingerprint is where you are now. Things you need to start putting together right now is, do you have a budget? Do you know what you even need to retire? That's an extremely important piece to know so that you're going to be okay. The other thing you have to do is look at your debt and the payments and when will it be paid off? Where are you going to, you got to think about where you're going to live, what it will cost, bringing all those together to make a wise decision.
Right. There might be, with the debts in particular, even if there's not something on the table where you might have to retire, you want to be working at getting rid of those debts, because freedom, being debt-free is a form of freedom. And we want to be away from that when we get to retirement, because we talk about health insurance in retirement. Health care in retirement is going to be a mortgage payment for you. So we want to have that mortgage eliminated before you get there. But if you still got debt and you're given a notice that you are retiring, then we need to figure out, how are you going to get by and service that debt, get rid of that debt? And it could be that we have to move. That's a possibility. There could be a lot of different things that we have to look at. Are we going to take a lump sum withdrawal from some place to pay off debt so that we can meet our monthly expenses? We've got a lot of things to consider, and that's why we need to gather this information, put together your financial fingerprint.
So when I think about rush to retirement, I think about the last time this happened a lot in our practice, which was back in 07, 08, 09, when there's different industries that shut down and people in their mid-50s lost their jobs pretty permanently. And so what ended up happening, people in their age 55 range, they were all less than 59 and a half. We had to do certain type of planning to be able to use IRA and retirement money early to help bridge the gap till they got another job.
Right. There are some special rules with regards to a 401k, where if you're working for an employer, you have a 401k there, you turn 55, and then you retire from that place. You can use that 401k money, and there's not a 10% penalty. It's just regular tax. When it comes to IRAs, there's a more complex system that's called 72T, where we can work out a way to take distributions from your IRA and not have the 10% penalty. But that's more complicated, and that's something that's easier to do when we're writing it down in front of you and showing you how that works.
Let's try to break that down as simple as we can. So if there's a rush to retirement and you're not yet 59 and a half, that means your birthday's 59 and you got to wait 6 more months before you can even touch this retirement money that you saved aside for. And the reason is that if you take it out earlier than that, you'd pay normal taxes, but then there's a federal tax penalty of 10% for taking money out early. It's an early withdrawal penalty. And that's what we're trying to avoid through different rules. Now, that means that you would not be in a hurry to roll your 401k over to an IRA if you're younger than 59 and a half. You have to plan out your income, do a financial plan about your retirement years, retirement life, to see if you can fully retire or do you need to bridge to the next job. Those kind of options, right, Jeff?
Right. There's a lot of different things we can use, ways we can look at it. And the 401k can be a wonderful tool if you qualify for that one, but we just look at what's available to you. And again, this is going to be unique for each person. You come in and maybe you're 57, maybe someone else that you know is 54. We've got to deal with both different situations. So we need to know your specific situation in order to make a plan. That's the key. Got to have a plan.
I had a person at 62 years old. They came in for that first rush to retirement talk, and first thing they said was, "Oh, I already applied for Social Security." And I said, "Well, how old are you?" And they said 62. I said, "Are you going to try to get another job?" "Oh, yeah, I have to get another job." I said, "Did you know that if you work, you can forfeit your Social Security back and basically lose that benefit?" And they didn't understand. Can you explain that rule, Jeff?
Yeah, we hadn't even talked about Social Security yet, but that's such a big one. When we take Social Security before our full retirement age, and your full retirement age is going to be somewhere between 66 and 67, depends on the year that you're born. If you take your Social Security before that, as early as age 62, one, you reduce your benefit. It would be higher if you waited. I'll call it a penalty. They don't call it a penalty, but you get less Social Security. The second thing is, if you make too much money, and I'm just going to use a round number, $18,000 in a year, if you earn more than that $18,000, they start taking away your Social Security $1 for every $2 over that limit that you go. And so I've seen folks that weren't thinking, they're like, oh, I'm going to sign up for Social Security because I'm 62. They were still working. And they come in a couple of years later and it's like, well, I already signed up for Social Security. Well, where's that on your income? You're not receiving any because they took it all back. And now your benefit from Social Security is permanently reduced for the rest of your life. So make a plan, please. This is where I beg you, make a plan before you sign up for Social Security, because that's one of those, you technically have one do-over inside of a year, but it can be difficult to manage that.
I guess the concept would be a rush to retirement is we need to rush, but we need not to hurry. I guess the concept is what decisions do we have to make today and what decisions can be made later, and try to lay them out and work with an expert, a financial advisor that's going to be a coach during this toughest time that you've ever faced, where you've worked and you have a plan to retire, say in 3 more years, 5 more years, and you're close, but all of a sudden you get told you're going to need to make that deadline come a lot closer. And so what happens is this. The rush of retirement at this year has been a situation where some clients have had choices and we had them ready to retire because they were an existing client already. We've had other people who are brand new and they come in and say, I want to retire at 12/31 and I need to be ready for that. What information do you need to find out? And that's what we take 2 or 3 meetings to figure that out. It's not easy.
No, it's not. There's a lot that goes into it. We have to have that plan. I'll say it again, have a plan.
Right. So at Acres Financial Group, we want that in your retirement, the biggest worry of your day should be where you drink your morning cup of coffee, or every day seems like a Saturday, free of stress. When you're thinking about rush to retirement, you're not thinking free of stress. You're thinking, let's get through. What we want you to think about in retirement is this. We want to know that your retirement income is being taken care of by Acres Financial's team of advisors. You also want to make sure that you're okay. If that's the future you want, it's not too late. We want to provide this kind of retirement for you, the one that'll last a lifetime. So begin by calling Acres Financial Group, by calling us at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. When you call, leave a voicemail message, and Susan will call you back on Monday to schedule a phone meeting, and a virtual Zoom meeting, or an in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors. All kinds of ways to meet. Start planning for your retirement now. Give us a call at 833-946-7384 or visit acresfinancialgroup.com. You can control your own destiny in retirement. We'll talk about this in the second quarter.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Mr. Announcer just welcomed you back, but I'm going to welcome you back also. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers, and here with me today is Jeff Akers. I'm Vice President of Acres Financial Group. We're both certified financial planner practitioners, and we're from right here in Maryland, grew up in Maryland, but we have clients all around America in many, many different states. Clients that have been in Maryland and then retired in other places. And Jeff, you enjoyed getting relationships with all these people as they travel?
I absolutely do. And some of them even start out in other places and then they become clients. And so I got to go visit some that were down in Florida. That was kind of nice. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, you're catching on to my game, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
We try to take care of our clients at Acres Financial Group. What I mean by that is this. It's a personal relationship. It's a personal decision on financial advice. It's not just numbers and not just investing, not just insurance. It's bringing it all together to make sure our retirement lifestyle and life is taken care of. And what this second segment, the second quarter, is all about is this. You can control your own destiny in retirement. That is exactly the comment I made earlier. So Jeff and I put together this show today, and the show is So You Want to Retire, but Can You? First quarter was about the rush to retirement. And what we're trying to say is this, that we need to control our own destiny in retirement, no matter what gets thrown at us. How can we begin doing that, Jeff?
So we talked a little bit about this in the first quarter, but just knowing where we are. I can't tell you how important it is to know where we are so that we can have an idea what to do in order to plan. So if we want to control our own destiny, one of the ways that we're not in control of our own destiny is through debt. When we owe a lot of people a lot of things, and in particular, unsecured debt, credit cards, we need to be working at getting rid of those. That's a big part of controlling our own destiny. I've seen people, they come in, they say, I really want to retire. And then they've got this list of all these credit card debts. I'm like, we've got to take care of these before you can retire. You're not in control of your own destiny right now. So let's work on getting these things in order so that you are now in control of your own destiny.
Typically, credit card debt means they did not have the money to buy it. That means they didn't have the savings or the cash somewhere. It's not like, oh, the money's just sitting there. It's money they didn't have that they spent.
Right.
And so when we see credit card debt, our second question would be is, do you have any money in savings? Rather than how much you have in savings, we ask the question, do you have any money in savings? And typically, what kind of answer they give you, Jeff?
No.
No.
They have no money in savings.
All right, so let's go through some basic fundamental things for everyone on your finances. It goes like this: 1, 2, and 3. The number 1 is this: make sure you have proper insurance, not too much and not too little. This is from auto and health to health insurance, health care for you and your family. Make sure your kids are covered after they leave the house until they're 26. Yeah. Oh, I was thinking 25, almost 26. 26, that's when they're on their own finally.
Finally.
Which can be a good thing. The other thing that you do is under insurance, you got to make sure you have the right amount of life insurance, not too much and definitely not too little. Disability insurance, long-term care, all of those things need to be looked at. The second fundamental thing in financial planning, we believe, is having an emergency fund. Emergency fund is so that if you get told that you're losing your job, you have the money in the bank to cover the next 3 to 6 months of expenses to figure your life out again. That's exactly what emergency fund is for. In this situation, we talk about a rush to retirement. Emergency fund is the number 1 place we go for that money, where we don't have to turn on income from other investments right away because we have the money saved to cover our bills. And then the third thing we want for fundamental financial planning is to have no personal debt. That means no credit card. The other type of debt is asset-based debt. That might be a car, might be a house. We work through that because we all need a car, we all need a house. That might be something you have payments on in retirement. We try not to make cash flow as easy as possible. But the idea is this. The first 3 steps is this. Number 1, make sure you have proper insurance, protect your family. Number 2, build an emergency fund. 3, no personal debt. If we can get that organized for you in your situation, then you can make the next step of moving to saving and growing and building for all those other goals in life.
Yeah, there are a lot of goals, and some of those goals are the next 3 steps that we get into when we're going through our financial plan. And these can vary in importance depending on what stage of life you're going into. So I'm just going to pick an order. The next one might be the mortgage. Brian talked about the unsecured debt. Mortgage is one of those asset-based, secured by your house kinds of debts. But we want to get rid of that payment. You're still going to have to pay taxes and insurance and that kind of thing on it. But we don't want you to have to pay principal and interest anymore. We want you to have a place to live where you don't have to worry about that payment, that amount of money that has to go out. So your mortgage. Next up, I'll call it retirement. And retirement is where we set money aside for the future. So if you've got an employer-sponsored plan at work, we're setting money aside into that. We want to maximize the match. If your employer offers a match on your retirement plan, you want to do whatever it takes to get as much from that as you can. And so every employer that has a match, they have a summary plan document that explains how that match works. Then outside of your work savings, there are other retirement types of accounts you might have, like a Roth IRA. We love Roth IRAs. That's a way to set money aside to the future, and then you've got money in retirement that's tax-free, which is a great thing. Our third step, or actually our 6th step, since Brian went through the first 3, our 6th step, I'll say, is education. And that's where, maybe you've got kids who are going to college or they're about to be in college or, wherever they are. If that's an issue, then we want to have money set aside for that expense. Sometimes we get through those first 5 steps and people say, well, I still have money and I've got grandkids. Well, we can help work with education for those grandkids as well.
We want you to control your own finances, which helps control your own destiny in retirement. We want our clients to be financially independent. And that's where you have the ability to say, I'm working because I want to, not because I have to. So if your job all of a sudden comes up and they say, well, we're no longer in business or you no longer have a job here, you then can look at your finances and say, I'm financially independent. I'm okay. And then you just give us a call and say, hey, Brian, I'm retiring. I'll come see you next month. Now, that's different than the rush to retirement, which is a phone call that says, I need to meet today. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's a pure panic. So when you get a pure panic call, what's your first kind of steps, Jeff?
Well, we've got to talk through their situation, just what's going on. So sometimes that'll be on the phone. I mean, they're in a panic. We try to help figure out what's going on so we can take what's the next right step to take and just kind of start building on that. But we're going to want to get together as soon as we can and talk about your situation in detail and figure out, kind of have a priority list of what needs to get done right now, and then figure out what are we going to do going into the future.
Yeah, when I think about a rush to retirement, I think about a couple of clients recently, and it's just like their career, the path of their career. They know that they need to get out and stop what they're doing. They really feel they need to make a change, but they're not sure what they're changing to. So they're actually causing the ending of their work life with a certain company. And so now they're going to end that job, and then they're going to go start searching. Dream world would be to have a job in place before you leave and have things organized. But if we don't have that kind of timing, what we try to do is make sure you have enough savings. Now, if someone's going to retire and they're under their own control, they actually might stop saving for retirement and build cash as they get ready to transition to a new job. Because I believe cash is king when life is tough. What I mean by that is this. When life's tough, things are going on, things you can't decide, things that are overwhelming you. The more cash you have, the better to help you get through. No matter what happens, what kind of curveball, what's thrown at us, we have to be able to handle it by having our money set aside to be able to pay whatever bills might show up.
Yeah, something Brian mentioned before about you're losing one job and you're thinking, well, I want to get another one, but you don't already have it lined up. And earlier, Brian mentioned that emergency fund. The emergency fund gives you the freedom to look for the next right job for you. So that's important no matter where you are, is to start building that cash up for that emergency fund. Because when you're told your job just ended, have a nice retirement, that's an emergency. And having that fund available to cover those expenses until your next job or until you have your plan ready to go for retirement is critical.
Yeah, sometimes I think about younger me, like what advice did I listen to and who did I listen to? And there's sort of like two different stories. One is this older guy who used to work with me. He was trying to teach me how the idea is never to have a car payment, rather own real estate instead of a car payment. It was wonderful advice, and I'm at my age now, and I'm wishing I did what he said when I was in my 20s, and I didn't do it. But it was great advice to set aside a car payment and buy something with it instead, something that's going to create. And that's there's some great books out there about it, but I think the idea is that's something that I missed out on because I did not do it. The other side is where you see people that look successful and they have a lot of shiny things and new things. And then the reality as a financial advisor, when I start working with people like that, I go to their house and I'd find out what their real finances look like. They made a lot of money, but they spent it all. And in reality, what I found throughout my 30-some years of being a financial advisor is this. It comes down, are you a saver or are you not a saver? Are you a debtor? Do you put money in savings all the time and let it grow? Do you live within your means? Or are you always chasing the next dollar, trying to pay off the bill, trying to find enough money to make it? There's a big difference between the two. We can't spend like we're going to make the money in the future. You got to live within the means you have now. The same thing happens in retirement. The people that are very successful in retirement already know how to live within their means. And so the idea of it isn't scary at all because they've lived their whole life that way.
Right. They're used to using here's my income and this is all I've got to spend. And so retirement can be really good for them. I've seen people that never made a whole lot of money, but they have a great retirement. They've got everything they want. And the flip side that Brian's talked about is, sometimes people made a lot of money and they get to retirement and it's like, well, you can't retire yet because you got to pay off all these things that you bought that you didn't have the money for. And now we've got to pay them off and then save some. and then maybe you can retire.
We want you to control your own destiny in retirement. That's because you need to control it, because no one else is going to care as much as you do. At Acres Financial Group, we start with financial planning. Financial planning is how we uncover the reasons that you need to save, that you need to grow, you need to reallocate so that you have the best financial plan for you and your family. Acres Financial Group, we're local, we're independent. We don't report to a big company on Wall Street. We report to you. We do have offices in Lutherville and Forest Hill. This retirement is all about you, not about us. To begin winning in retirement, give us a call at Acres Financial Group to schedule your free meeting. Call us at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WINRETIRE. When you call, leave us a voice message, and we'll call you back on Monday to schedule a Zoom meeting, like a virtual Zoom meeting or a phone meeting or an in-person meeting in one of our offices where you can meet with one of their team of advisors to talk about your financial plan. Start planning for your retirement now by giving us a call at 833-946-7384 or visit acresfinancialgroup.com. 3 things that can save you money on your taxes now. We will cover this in the second half.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers, President and founder of Acres Financial Group. And here with me today is Vice President Jeff Akers. Good morning, Jeff. How are you doing?
Good morning, Brian. I thought I'd mention that we're both also certified financial planner practitioners.
Yeah, and then we practice, or did we get it right?
Well, we got it right. That's how we got the designation.
But we keep practicing.
It's kind of like a doctor. They have a practice.
Okay, I get it now. All right, so what we've been doing so far is we're doing a show called So You Want to Retire, But Can You? We started out with the Rush to Retirement this year, the Rush to Retirement, where we're getting phone calls about every week. Someone's saying, I need to retire. I really got to talk to you guys about retirement. I need to get in and make sure I'm okay and make sure I can retire now. Then the second thing we talked about was this, is that you can control your own retirement destiny through basic financial planning, which most people don't do. But everyone needs to do it. Make sure you got things lined up properly so that you're going to be okay no matter what gets thrown at you. Now, this third segment is this: 3 things that can save you money on your taxes now. Jeff, when we go ahead and get started on that, what are some ideas that you have?
Well, I'll take one, and you might think, well, this doesn't save me now on taxes, but a Roth conversion. If you have a traditional IRA, money that's in a traditional account, that means that you're going to pay taxes on it in the future. It's tax deferred, so you're going to pay taxes. Well, with the tax rates the way they are and the things they keep talking about in Washington, they're likely to go up. If we convert some money and pay the tax now, kind of prepay the tax, then we have money in a tax-free bucket for the rest of your life. And you can use that through retirement. Ideally, any investment, if we put it in there, we expect it to grow. If we thought it was going to go down, we wouldn't do it. So we put it in there, we want it to grow, and then in the future, that growth amount is money that's going to be tax-free. Last year I had someone, he owned a stock, he owned quite a bit of it, and it was in his IRA, and when the market went way down, I said, do you think this stock's going to come back? He said, yes. I said, then we should convert it to a Roth IRA. So we converted it. It was around a $60,000 conversion, and now it's around $160,000 in value, and that's tax-free for him and his family. So this is an opportunity to pay the tax now and then never pay tax again on money. That's a Roth IRA conversion.
Now, I said 3 things that can save you money on taxes right now, and what you did is just cost people money, right?
I cost them right now. I save them in the long run.
So the word Roth conversion is where you take it from tax deferral and you convert it to tax-free. You pay tax now and never again. Now, some of the reasons we like that is because we believe that this year, 2021, is the best year to pay taxes that we're going to have over the next 15 to 20 years. That taxes will not get any better than this. In fact, the tax rates that we have are going to sunset without any changes in the year 2026. The brackets 12 will go back to 15, 22 will go back to 25, and 24 become 28. They all jump back up, and you'll be paying more taxes in the future, and that's without anything new coming down the pipe. So this is it. The Roth conversion that Jeff mentioned is a great thing that you considered to do. You got to do it right away. You have to do it in a calendar year. So you don't wait to the last 2 weeks of the year. You got to do it immediately where you convert. Roth contributions are different. So another way to save money on your tax on your lifetime, instead of putting pre-tax money, you can maybe make your 401k, your TSP, or you can do a regular Roth IRA on your own and put money in after tax now and let that grow tax-free for your future. Can be a really good thing to do. The other tax idea right now is this. This is a little one, but we've all been doing standard deduction instead of itemized. And that was because of the way they organized and took away the SALT deduction, the state and local income tax deduction. For 2021, if you give the charity, you should keep that receipt because there is a special little line where you can put $300 for a married filing jointly return. You can take $300 off your taxes for giving the charity if you have a receipt. So that's a quick way to save some money on taxes.
Right. That can save you at least a little something. $300 off your taxable income is a great thing. And Brian mentioned the tax rates before, the fact that they're going to increase in the future. But another part of the tax code has to do with capital gains. And capital gains are not necessarily tax-free. If your income is low enough, they might be. But it is tax-favored. So that means you might be in the 28% tax bracket or 33% tax bracket, but you have a capital gain. That money is taxed at 15%. So you're paying less tax on a capital gain than you are on your regular earned income. That's why Warren Buffett likes to say that he pays less tax than his secretary, because he gets taxed at a favorable capital gains tax rate. So we want to be able to take advantage of that, and this is a year to do it, because if your income, depending on where it is, there are likely to be some gains to be taken this year. And so if we're going to have to pay tax on it eventually, this might be a year to do it, because they're talking about changing the way capital gains get taxed, and it won't be for the better for capital gains.
Right. So we do not know what all the new tax laws might be. We're just saying that right now, this year might be the best year to actually pay the tax. So instead of pushing income to the future, you might want to pull income into this year. That's a weird concept. If you talk to your CPAs and accountants, they might say, oh, no, don't do that. Pay tax later. I'll never pay tax today. I've had that argument with people, especially CPAs, about doing a Roth conversion. And I usually am right when the person turns 70, 72, when they start taking money out of their IRA. And I remind them that the CPA wouldn't let us do Roth conversions years ago. That's why you owe so much tax now. Because IRAs, you'll never escape without paying tax. You or your kids, someone's going to pay the tax on the IRA retirement account. So you got to make sure you understand taxation. Now, when we're talking about taxes now, you think about your job, your life, and what's going on tax-wise. There really isn't a lot of tax-free things that you can do. And that's why we really love the Roth IRA as an idea, as something you need to do. We don't feel that you're ever too young or too old to start that. Generally 18 for too young. You can technically start a little earlier than that if you have someone signed for you, but usually 18 is earliest. And the latest for Roth is whenever you want.
As long as you've got earned income, you can make a contribution.
Right. If you're working at 80 and have getting paid for whatever you're doing, you can do a Roth contribution, which can save money tax-free. The taxes, if I'm thinking about taxes, we're thinking about next January, February, you're going to fill out those forms, and you're thinking about, income and what am I doing? Is there any one thing that you can do now to help your taxes? Now, Jeff was talking about capital gains rates being lower. One of the things you might want to do on your portfolio here is to look at if you have any losses that go with the gains. Tax harvesting is where you take the idea of selling a few things that might be down. There's probably not a lot of things down over the last few years. But if you have something that's down, probably a bond fund, those typically are what's down right now, you would sell that bond fund and don't buy it back for at least 30 days or more, so you can take that loss against the gain that you have from other funds. This year, during tax season, we're going to have some major surprises from our mutual funds and ETFs, things that provide dividends and capital gain dividends. That's going to show up in January. You're going to wonder, I didn't make that $20,000. I never saw that money. And then we'll say, oh, it's got reinvested dividends, but you do owe tax every year on that. So you got to be careful with some of this tax planning for this year especially.
Yeah, what Brian's talking about there with mutual funds, a mutual fund is required to pass on any gains to the mutual fund owners. But the mutual fund owner doesn't actually know what that gain is until late December, and that's if he's right on top of it. Or more likely, you don't even know that it happened until you get that statement in January that says this is what happened in December. And then some people don't pay attention to that, and they realize it when they get that 1099 from the mutual fund that says, oh, here is your capital gain distribution. And they're like, I owe how much in taxes because of this? And it can be a surprise. There are years where the market is down and there's still a big capital gain because a mutual fund had to sell something that it had owned for a really long time, and it's at a gain, even though it's not at its high. It came back down, but it's not as low as it was when they bought it. And so you get that distribution. And so we've had people with a big surprise saying, my account went down. What's this gain about? And it's because there's something that was in there for a long time, and they had to sell it, and it was a gain. And that gets passed on to you.
And the other thing we've been doing a lot of the last few weeks is something called a QCD. If you're over 70 and a half, you can actually take money from your IRA and give it to charity through a qualified charitable distribution. Now, under the new rules, which started back under the Secure Act of 2020, it's now 72 is when you have to start taking money out of IRAs, but they did not change the QCD idea. So we can actually reduce our IRA values to the future and send that money to a charity tax-free. What that means is we can send from IRA directly to a charity, and that distribution doesn't count as income. It does count as a required minimum distribution. It actually helps lower your IRA values for later when you have to take withdrawals. So if you're giving money and you're not taking deductions on your itemized, possibly consider, once you're 70 and a half, to start taking your charity out of your IRA.
Right. I have never seen a case where it didn't make sense. If you're 70 and a half and you give money to charity anyway, and you have an IRA that's going to be taxable when you take it out, give from that IRA to the charity, because you get to give. There's money in the IRA that you didn't pay tax on to put in. You're going to pay when you took it out, but now you gave it to charity, so you don't pay it then either, and the charity gets that donation. So it makes sense to do.
Each person's limited to $100,000 that they can give as a qualified charitable distribution. We think it's a great way to further your legacy and your giving by giving while you're alive, and using this to reduce your top line income when it comes to your taxes. So QCD is the idea. Now, one of the ideas, this is going to be fancy talk, but you take your QCD for the RMD. So whatever you have to take out as a 72 or over, you take that and give it to charity. That gives you the ability to convert everything above it. So you can end up converting money, and you still can convert after you're 72, but you have to pay tax on it. And you just got to make sure it fits your long-term plan for your family. It's a Roth conversion never should go to charity, it should go to your family. But a Roth conversion can occur if you also do a QCD to reduce the RMD taxable portion. So that's just fancy talk, just trying to give you another thought. But here at Acres Financial Group, we want the best part of your retirement is where you get your time back. You decide how to use it. Before retirement, your time is tied up with many other commitments, mainly your job. A lot of that goes away when you're retired. Your time is now consumed by things that you want to do. To begin winning in retirement, give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. When you call, leave us a voice message, and we'll call you back on Monday to schedule a phone meeting, virtual Zoom meeting, or an in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors. Start planning for your retirement now. Call us at 833-946-7384 or visit acresfinancialgroup.com. If you want to walk the walk in retirement, you need to have the retirement talk now. We'll explain in the fourth quarter.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to Winning Retirement. I'm Brian Akers. Here with me today is Jeff Akers. We're both certified financial planner practitioners from Akers Financial Group, located right here in Maryland. As we've said, we're both CFPs, which means we are financial advisors here to advise you on your retirement. It's us giving the best advice that we can so that you can have the best retirement that you can. Today's show that we put together is called So You Want to Retire, But Can You? And let's say you're just tuning in right now and you missed the first 3 quarters. Like, I need to know more about that information. Well, guess what? Our website, acresfinancialgroup.com. You go there. On that website, we have a radio show, and you can hear past shows. This show will be on there by the middle of next week for you to be able to listen to as a recording or a podcast on your phone. Just take a look at acresfinancialgroup.com and find out. Now, through our show, we had 4 quarters. First one is about the rush to retirement. Second one is that you can control your own destiny in your retirement. The third segment was about tax ideas that you need to have to save tax right now. And then the fourth segment is this. If you want to walk the walk in retirement, you need to have the retirement talk now. What's that all about, Jeff?
Yeah, we need to talk about what your retirement's going to look like. Honestly, when I get together with folks and we're talking about retirement, I'm asking things like, well, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to live here? Do you want to live somewhere else? People have all kinds of goals, and we've got to figure out what those are in order to have a plan in order to meet them. So we're just taking a look at everything that there is, including what your goals are, yours and your spouse. Sometimes we have to put those together. They're not always the same. And so we have to work through that. And that's all part of that retirement talk. It's part of the plan for what the future is going to look like.
Yeah, retirement talk. Some people think it's the one you have right before you turn your papers in. But the retirement talk really begins with you and your spouse and your financial advisor sitting in that room, and you're sort of dreaming about what it might look like. Now, it's not this pretty all-color 3D video of your retirement. It's more of what should we do? And it's a discussion that begins and continues. I can tell you that as we meet with clients each and every year, as we review once, twice, 3 times a year, depending on what's going on, we talk about what's going on, what they need to do, how's their cash flow, how's their money, how's their cash, is things going all right? And we make changes that are needed. The investment and portfolio management is designed for them in mind. Yes, we do active portfolio management. We do that with our AFG select models. We also have ways of managing money that can provide protected and guaranteed income through the use of different laddered types annuities. We try to make the portfolios work for the client and their exact situation wherever they come from. So when we talk about retirement talk and then walk the walk, the walk is this. Yes, you want to retire, but are you going to do the work it takes to be able to retire? What kind of work do you think of, Jeff, when I say the work to be able to retire?
Yeah, the work to be able to retire. Earlier, you mentioned something about a budget, just knowing what you spend. That's part of the work. When it comes to your portfolio, though, a lot of times we get in this mindset as we're saving for retirement, we have an accumulation mindset. Everything's about let's put more money into the market and watch it grow. And if it goes down, no big deal, it'll come back. Well, when you're getting close to retirement, if it goes down, that can be a big deal. So we want to have some money that's protected against that. And you mentioned having some guaranteed income down the road. So we want to look at investments that truly protect some of your money. And we need to look at what's the right allocation for you in order to accomplish that. We'll always have some money that's in a risk-based investment like stocks because we don't know how long we're going to need money for. And stocks are one of the best ways to keep up with inflation, which we've actually seen come into play here recently. But we want to have some money in that, but we need to have some money, the money that we're going to need now, the money that we're going to need next year, maybe even the year after that. We want to have that money in something that's not going to go down. So we don't want that to be invested in stock. Some of it's in cash. Some of it's in investments that are just guaranteed against that loss.
Yeah, the thing about clients that came in that wanted to rush to retirement, one of the reasons that one of these clients wanted to rush to retirement is they no longer wanted to commute. So when they went from virtual and they were told a certain date that they had to drive to the office, they said, I want that to be my retirement date. And they said, oh, can I do that, Brian? And so we started calculating it out. Now, for this one client, it worked out really well so that they could retire before they had to go back. But other people, I've had to say, no, you're going to have to put 2 more years in because you said these are your goals and we're not there yet. So it's brutal. But what's good about having the retirement talk is when you know your numbers, it tells you the answer, right? It works out to be the best way to handle things is knowing what your numbers are so you can walk the walk by knowing your retirement and having that retirement talk.
Sometimes we have to choose between goals. I have the goal of not commuting, but I also have the goal of living in this location. Okay, which one do you want?
Yeah. One of the things is that if we work longer, usually that does not hurt our financial position. It helps it. It helps includes it. One of the amazing things about the job you currently have, it's probably the best paying job that you're going to have. Most people that retire and then try to go back out to find another job don't get a job that pays better. They get a job that's more part-time. You might be a contractor where there's no benefits or no even matching or even taxation where you have to pay it all on your own. What you have to really understand is this. The job you have might be the best job you can get and the best job you can have. So you don't have to rush to retirement and turn your papers in. What you got to do is plan your retirement, be financially independent. So I think that's just a real important thing to do is understand your own personal timing and be in control of whatever we can control.
And if you get to that financial independence and then you retire, maybe you want to have some sort of part-time job. Well, you're not worried about what the pay is or the benefits are. It's just something that you like to do. And so you can go do that. And that can be your walking around money or whatever that you want.
Yeah, I had a medical situation with this one client where they're trying to get disability or retire, and they got turned down for disability, but now they're going to actually retire, and they have to pick a certain date, and it's sort of final, This is the date. And so all their friends are like, are you sure you should do this? And the only way to know for sure is to have that financial advisor to run all the numbers by, someone that's going to go through and understand where you are. Now, financial planning is part of it. Then taking that plan to action and following through and putting everything in order is truly what a good financial plan is an implemented financial plan, one where you actually do the things that you planned on doing.
That's where the work kind of comes in, because sometimes that means signing papers. Sometimes that means making the decision to do it. Sometimes there are all kinds of things that you're going to have to do. So that's the work that goes into it. We do the work of letting you know, here's how to do it, here's what needs to be done, but then you have to do the work of saying, yes, this is what I'm going to do, and actually signing the papers and whatever it takes to accomplish that, to implement the plan like Brian talked about. You can have the greatest plan in the world, but if you don't put it into action, Brian talked earlier about the fellow get him advice about instead of having a car payment, buy some real estate or something. And, it's a great plan, but without implementing it, it doesn't do any good. So have the plan and then implement it, do the work to get that implemented.
And so I'm thinking about some advice that I've given out recently to people. People say, I want to retire. And my response back is, well, pay your house off. Next answer is maximize your 401k savings. Yes, save $26,000 to your 401k. Can you do that? Build your savings up to 6 months savings. And then some clients say, oh, yeah, I can do that. Give me a deadline. And they can't wait. They're hungry for it. And there's other ones that get scared to death by those numbers. Have you had that?
Well, yeah, there are some folks that it's just totally new to them. It's like an alien language when you talk about, well, let's set money aside and not spend everything that comes in. Let's save some first. And it can take some coaching to get through that.
I like 401ks that allow you to raise your savings percentage every year so that it's slowly taking more and more out of your retirement and putting that away and throwing it to your financial future. That is a good way to save first, is to hide it from yourself and throw it all the way to retirement. Now, for some of you, it might be a few years, some might be a couple decades. The more you save now, the better.
And it's all about habits, because I was talking to someone today that they don't have debt. So it's like, oh, they got good habits. Well, they also don't have a lot of savings. So they're spending everything they get coming in. They're just not spending more than what's coming in. So it's only partly good habits. So we need to have that plan in place that says, I'm going to put this much in savings, make it like a bill that you're saving, and then the rest is what you can spend after you've taken care of your savings.
What I think you need to think about is this. Financial planning is a wonderful thing that's good for you and your family, only if you do it now. Don't wait. Don't hesitate to wait. Oh, hesitate to wait. I don't mean that. What I actually mean is this. Don't wait to get it started. Don't hesitate to start. The more you wait, the more you hesitate. They're all bad. You need to get started yesterday. Start now.
Yes, he who hesitates is lost. I heard that 1,000 times from my dad. So you don't want to put off till tomorrow. That procrastination, it will get you every time. So don't put it off. We want to start now. You're never too young to start. You're never too old to start. You just need to start. That's the important thing.
All right. So we've talked about rushed to retirement and about things going on in people's life right now. We also talked about the main thing of you are in control of your own destiny with your finances, and you got to take control. Then we talked about some tax ideas. Then we finished up here with the idea of having that retirement talk so that you know that you're going to be okay. Any other words of wisdom, Jeff?
Just a couple of quick notes. One is that Social Security is going up next year by a whopping 5.9%. We haven't had an increase like that in a really long time. Medicare is going up even more by about 14.5% for Medicare Part B. That's the part that actually comes out of your Social Security. So you'll probably end up with a little more money in your Social Security payment, but not nearly as much more as you were expecting.
I think that makes sense. Because what happens is you have sources of retirement, and those sources will be varied based on your work history. And Social Security is one of the pieces. Yep. All right. Thanks very much, Jeff. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to our show today. We want you to win in retirement. So take this opportunity to begin planning with us at Acres Financial Group. Go ahead and schedule your free meeting with one of our team of advisors by calling us at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. When you call, leave us a voice message, and we'll call you back on Monday to schedule a phone meeting, virtual Zoom meeting, or an in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors. Start planning for your retirement now. That's 833-946-7384, or visit acresfinancialgroup.com. Thank you for listening. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group, and we want you to be winning in retirement.
You've been listening to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group. Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group is a registered representative offering securities through Kalos Capital Incorporated and investment advisory services through Kalos Management Incorporated. Akers Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Kalos Capital or Kalos Management and does not provide tax and legal services. Advice given on Winning in Retirement is general in nature, and one should seek further advice from their financial advisor, broker, attorney, or tax accountant before investing. Be sure to read each prospectus carefully to understand all the risks associated with each investment.